Recording. And I want to say welcome and good evening, everyone, for our Contest 101. We will be talking about contest chairs and contest masters, and then for the first hour, and then for the second hour, we will talk about contest functionaries. And for those that don't know me, my name is Kari Evans. I'm the Program Quality Director for this year, and I have the privilege of providing education and training for the district members and officers. I want to welcome, we have our past district governor and past region advisor, Perrin Shannon, has joined us. So I want to say welcome.
Hi, Kari and everyone. Welcome. Good evening.
Good evening. And then I get to introduce the dynamic duo of contest chairs, district contest chairs. We have Tanisha Bulla and Ebony Brown. Both were past area and current division director and past division director. So they have a lot of experience with running contests and they want to share their knowledge with you this evening. And our workshop leader for this evening is Ebony Brown. And I will turn it over to Ebony to get started.
So good evening. Like I missed like 5 slides. But I want to thank you all for attending this evening. If you were with us on last night for the judges and chief judge training, I'm sure you received a wealth of knowledge from Tanisha, and I thank you for returning tonight. And if this is your first time tonight, I thank you for joining us. So we wanted to kick off with a small icebreaker. And the question asks, have you participated in a speech contest at any level, meaning club, area, division, or district, or maybe all the way to international? If so, what role did you serve? So I see Teresa has served as ballot counter. Hope has did everything. Okay, Hope. I should let you come up here and do the training then. Hope said she's done them all. Dishless said chief judge. Dishless, we needed you last night with this chief judge training we had going on. Geraldine, I'm sorry, is timer. Okay, so we have a lot. Everyone has served in a lot of roles. Oh, Paris said he went to international. I'm jealous. I want to make it to international at some point. So it seems like we have a wealth of knowledge in the room today. So I'm super excited. So if I'm wrong, you guys feel free to correct me in chat so you won't throw me off. Don't say it out loud. The first thing we wanted to focus on and highlight is the speech contest rulebook. This is critically important. It is available. I had a question last night, did they mail these out? So they're no longer mailed out, but you're able to access them in several places. The first and main place being the Toastmasters International website. I always suggest you get it from the website because they have the most updated version. The version of the rule book changes every year. So as you can see, we have the link for the 2021-2022 new year. So not all of the rules change, but those that do, they are marked inside the book. The book is important for several reasons. It has the overall speech contest rules. It has contest checklists that you can use. And on the back of the book, there's speech contest materials. Now, when we were planning for this, Tanisha and I decided to print ours out and study it like we did when we were in college to get, y'all can see I have my highlighter. I don't know if you can see, but I have my highlighter and I was marking my book up and down. So I highly suggest, if you haven't, to go and download it from the Toastmaster International website and review it as you begin to prepare for your contest. Now we're going to quickly high-level review some general contest rules that all contests should know. So since we're focusing on contest chair tonight and contest master, you need to know how the contest ran. First rule, contest must originate at the club level and proceed through the area, division, and district levels. This is to say that all of these steps have to happen. Districts, the only contest that is mandatory is the international speech contest. Every district across the globe has to have the international speech contest. And then outside of that, each district has the option to host 3 additional contests. Some other general rules: there will be 1 minute of silence between contested speeches, during which voting judges and the tie-breaking judge will mark their ballots. Now, I've been a part of contests before in the virtual environment where the contest master did not like awkward silences. And so I told him afterwards, we have to be quiet. You're not allowed to have conversation during this time. And we do that so that the judges can focus and mark their ballots. They're tallying numbers, they're reviewing the speech that they just heard. So that 1 minute of silence is mandatory. When the last contestant finishes, contest master will ask for silence from the audience until the ballot counters have collected all ballots. Now, this for us can be an extended period of time depending on what level you are. If you're at the district level, we can have up to 7 or more judges depending on the number of divisions that we have. So if you have your phone, play a game, send a text message, just be quiet during this time. And once we come back, the interviews will begin. All voting judges and the tie-breaking judge must judge all contestants. So they can't say, oh, I like Jill, but I didn't like Jane, so I'm not going to judge Jane. That's not how it goes. You judge everybody that gets up there. We have 8 speeches. You judge all 8 speeches. And lastly, in order for a ballot to be valid, the judges must enter first, second, and third places, sign and print the name on the ballot. The exception to this is if you're at a club level, area level, you only have 2 contestants, then you enter first and second, and that will be valid. And the tie-breaking judge must rank all the contestants. So if we have 8, the tie-breaking judge will rank them 1 through 8. Now, these are more specifically for the contestants that are going to be competing. Eligibility requirements. The contestants must be a paid member of a club in the area, division, and district in which they are competing. That's very simple. Pay your dues, you can compete. So at the club level, the contestants club must be in good standing, meaning that that club has at least that minimum of 8 required members and they are considered in good standing. So unfortunately, if you are a paid member and your club is not good standing, then you're not eligible to compete. And this must be maintained at all the levels of the contest. So hopefully, as you are on your trek to the World Championship of Public Speaking, you have to be eligible at all of those levels. Originality, contestants must create their own speeches and each must be substantially original. This means that the maximum of 25% or less of the speech may be devoted to quoting, paraphrasing, or referencing another person's content. Content must be identified during the speech presentation. So if you said a quote from a book or a movie or a speech anywhere else, you have to acknowledge that person. If they wrote it, if you didn't create it on your own, you have to give them their credit. So I say give credit where credit is due. And lastly, contestants must not reference another contestant or a speech presented by another contestant at the same contest in which they're competing. This is basically to say someone went before you and you liked it and you want to show that you were listening. You can't say, well, Tanisha said. That is grounds for disqualification. And continuing with the contestant rules. So this one sometimes gets to be a little tricky. You Toastmasters who are members in more than one club, which a lot of us are, and who meet all eligibility requirements are permitted to compete in the club contest in each club which they hold paid membership. Now, if you win in all of these clubs, you have some decisions to make. No contestant can compete in more than one area speech contest of a given type, even if the 2 areas are in different divisions or districts. As you all know, we are in District 14. I'm sorry, we are in District 44. So we have 2 districts in Georgia, District 14 and then District 44. So if you are competing in District 44 area contest, you cannot compete in District 14 or any other district for that matter.
Ebony, we have a question in the chat. It says, can humorous contestants present the same speech at different levels? So the club and area, for example.
Yes, so you can present the same speech all the way up until I think at the regional, and Perrin may have to help me out, correct me if I'm wrong. I think you get up pretty high before you have to change your speech. But
Right, I think the question is, you said humorous, right? Or any speech?
Oh yeah, so in humorous you can, thank you. So yes, you can give that speech all the way up to the district, which is where humorous would stop. Thank you, Perrin. International speech contests must meet all general eligibility requirements. So the ones that we just went over previously. They must have completed 6 speech projects in the CC manual. Some of you may not know what that is, and that is okay. That is our old legacy program for those of you who were members way back then. Or completed levels 1 and 2 of any path in the Pathways, Toastmasters Pathways curriculum. Charter members of a club charter less than 1 year before the club contests are permitted to compete without having completed this requirement. So this is to say, if you chartered a new club this year and your club is all about Toastmasters and they want to host a contest, that is the only time that exception is in place. Okay, so now we're kind of getting into the nitty-gritty of this particular training. In reviewing the rule book, they lump contest chair and contest master together. So you are allowed to have a contest master, and we highly recommend you have a contest master. And we want to explain to you kind of how those roles differentiate. So for the contest chair, this person is responsible for creating the contest agenda, for validating and verifying who the contestants are, and you are setting the tone of the day, and you manage the awards as well. And I know that we have a lot of area directors that are new, and we'll have a special training for you all tomorrow, but I want to plug here, if you are an area director, I highly recommend that you pick a contest master and not trying to take on both of those roles yourself. The contest master manages the contest agenda, manages the contestants, sets the tone of the contest, and manages the interviews. Okay, so now we'll go specifically into the do's and don'ts of the contest chair, and we'll kind of compare and contrast the do's and the don'ts. So the first thing that you should do, as I stated earlier, read the manual. I don't know how many times I can say this. I don't know if you hate reading, you don't like it, please read the manual. Don't rely on past knowledge or others. So we have a lot of people, as we discovered earlier, well, I have been a chief judge, or I have been a contest master. I have done this in the past. As we learn, the rule book updates annually. So don't rely on the knowledge of others. In preparation for this, Tanisha and I went straight to the new book. We have both done several contests all the way up to the district level, but we wanted to make sure that we were up to date on all the information and did not necessarily have to rely. It's okay to ask questions, but I always say ask and verify, and utilizing the rule book will help you verify. Another do of the contest chair is to plan a strategy of execution and backups. So once we get into the facilitator roles, you'll know what those roles entail. And we say you have to have 2 timers. Get 3 timers, get 4 timers, because we know that life happens. Some people have to call out, or they are stuck in traffic in Atlanta. People say without traffic, there's always traffic in Atlanta. So they might not make it to their computer for the virtual environment. So have these backups that are in place. Don't wing it. Well, if they don't show up, then I'll just, If you are starting a sentence with that way, you are setting yourself up for failure. So do not do that. Do create a run of show. So we are going to provide some resources at the end of the training that will help you kind of guide you along with that way, plugging into the correct amount of people in the spaces that they're going to serve in. And then you're going to have meetings to review this, and we'll get into that debrief as well. Do not assume everyone is on the same page. We have had plenty of meetings for this. Tanisha and I went back and forth along with Kari, reviewing decks, having extra meetings. It would be easy to say, I know Tanisha got it, because Tanisha probably does have it. However, You don't want to assume that everyone is on the same page. So create that runner show and follow through with it. Provide paperwork completed beforehand. We had a question yesterday in the judges training. Do I collect all of the required documentation beforehand? Yes. You provide anything that they're going to need, the runner show, the eligibility forms, the agenda. We want to send all of this out in advance so that everyone will have a chance to complete any documents that are necessary and review any documents in case we have to make any changes. Do not arrive without an execution plan. Don't just show up and just assume everything is going to work out. That is the key to failure. Prepare, 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 plan, plan, plan. And also do communicate winner announcement and certificates. So you will be the person, the chief judge will notify you of the contest winner, and you will do that. Don't assume process of winner announcements. Okay, so now we are going to do the same thing with the contest master. And I want you to see everything that I just went over for the dues with the contest chair. And now we have a whole entire list of dues with the contest master. So when I say I recommend you have these as separate roles, this is why, because it can become quite a lot of work. So if you can have a contest master, if you can delegate, serve in that leadership position, have someone else helping you out, those are those Toastmaster skills that we're trying to develop. So the dues on the contest master: do host the contest enthusiasm. I love being a contest master. Last year, I did my first contest from my car, and I was told you would have never known that's where I was. I was so excited, so happy to be there, very engaged, and the audience felt every minute of it. So if you're in that space, be in that space. You 2 to 3 hours, depending on the length of the contest. Be there, be excited, have everyone feeling the same way that you do. Don't speak in monotones. We all hate when people blah, 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 blah. We tune them out and we're not listening. So don't be that person that no one wants to listen to. Do brief contestants and gather paperwork. So we're going to go into detail next what a contestant's briefing looks like and the necessary paperwork that's required. Don't review the paperwork before calling on contestants. So this is to say, we're going to learning their name. You don't want to just read this at the very last minute. We're going to the stage. And now I have Jessica. No, prepare yourself. Next, we're following up with that. Next, study the contestant paperwork. And this is referencing the contestant profile that we sometimes use because they don't want you to mispronounce names. And we don't want to apologize because once you do it wrong, it's already out there, especially when you've had several meetings or calls or time before to learn the person's name. Like, Dishalis, did I say your name correctly? And I learned this during the briefing, and she will correct me if it's wrong so that when we are live in this contest, I am not mispronouncing people's name. I feel like my name, Ebony, is very simple, but I have people call me E-Bunny, and that just really hurts my feelings. So think about yourself. You don't want somebody to mispronounce your name, so try not to mispronounce theirs. Do ask for a minute after each speech. And the don't for that is to announce the next contestant immediately. We talked about in the general rules why this is important. So if I finish my speech and the next contestant is parent, we need this 1 minute. Don't, when I say, and thank you, back to you, contest master. The next contestant is parent Shannon. No, you ask for the 1 minute on the clock for the timer. We need this to give the judges time to finish completing their ballot. And then also the next contestant needs time to prepare and get ready. So during that 1 minute, that contestant is probably censoring themselves and preparing themselves to go up and speak. Do think about interview questions early. As I stated, we do have the contestant profile, which has general prompt questions. Name a favorite quote. What are your favorite hobbies? I've been a contest master for a lot now, and so I like to ask different questions depending on it. So I may listen to the contestant speech and jot down something that they said in their speech so we can have a more engaging interview. You don't want to stumble through the interview. You are leading the interview, so the contestant is following you. And lastly, manage airtime. Sometimes in the contest where I served before, the judges weren't finished with the ballots. And so there was a lot of time in between. And so we pivoted, right? We did a table topic section. I talked about myself because I'm like the most non-humble person. So I like to brag about myself. And we do that. Dishris is asking, should contestant interviews be timed? That's something that you would discuss with the chief judge and the timer. If you feel that you need that as contest master, you can say, I've asked before, how much time do we want to allow? So we want to have 10 minutes for interviews. So you can ask the timer, can you give me 1 to 2 minutes, or be able to time it yourself. So that's completely optional. But if you want to, like they said, managing their airtime, that may be something that you want to initiate. So this is the part I really wanted to get into, was the contestants briefing. This part is very important. The first thing I want to say about the contestants briefing is there is also a judge's briefing. You are not to, under any circumstances, have these at the same time. They should not be on the same Zoom, meaning this one is at 6:30 and the next one is at 7 o'clock. Because what can happen is someone can come in early. A lot of you were here at 6:20 and I was still preparing. And so if you let this person in, they might get a chance. If the function isn't set for them to have to be in the waiting room, they might come in to see who the judges are. So they don't have to be on separate days, but I would definitely recommend different times of days if you're going to do that. Maybe one in the morning, one in the evening, and if possible, separate days, but definitely not at the same time. And I say this for the chairs to say, well, I want to get my briefings out the way. I'm going to have them all together. All right, all of my judges going to one room, all of my contestants going to another. You have totally just identified who the judges are. And if you're not aware, judges are to remain anonymous. So the contestants briefing, you are to, 1, verify the presence of all contestants, and again, the pronunciation of their names. So if there are 5 speakers, you want to make sure that all 5 speakers are there. You will also conduct a brief informal interview with each contestant after all the ballots are collected. And so this is why you can take that time to get to know them. Again, learn how to say their name. You may want to learn fun facts about them that you can incorporate. Because as we stated on the do's, you want to control the interviews and you want to make them engaging. Secondly, review the speech contest rules with the speakers. So we went over at the beginning of this presentation what those rules were. And the reason I did that is because you need to know them. I don't necessarily expect you to memorize them, but at least have the handbook, highlight those that are critically important to your particular contest that's been housed at that moment. And of course, the ones that are general to all of the contests. Excuse me. Then next, review the speaker's certification of eligibility and originality. And that's our next slide. We're going to go over that a little bit more in detail because it is a required form that you have to have. I suggested on our training last night that this should be turned in at the briefing. The briefing should be held at least 24 to 48 hours prior to the contest. And so this way, you guarantee that you have this document. If a contestant shows up at the contest without this, they are not allowed to participate, unfortunately. Review timing protocol with the speakers, and we will go over this in more detail in the functionaries training. But depending on the contest, there are different rules that are in place. For example, international and humorous are 5 to 7 minutes. Table topics is 1 to 2 minutes. Evaluation, 2 to 3 minutes. So you must go over what these requirements are and when they will see the light. And we'll also have the timer to be at this briefing, just so 1, the contestants can learn how to pin the timer since we're in a virtual environment, and so that the timer is aware of these timing requirements, again, based on the contest that we're having. This was as acquaint contestants with exact speaking area. We are virtual, so you can take this time to help them with their camera. when I served as contest master before, it was, well, maybe you need to elevate your computer. If they have a phone, maybe it needs to be turned horizontal versus landscape. So those are the kind of things that you want to do there. You may want to help them with lighting, as well as help them with their sound checks and make sure all of these things are in place. This takes time if you have 4 to 7 people competing. And so you want to do this in this space. And then lastly, you are selecting speaking orders. So draw for speaking positions. Again, since we are in a virtual environment, the district has elected to use a randomizer. And so I posted the link that's up there, and it is also available on our D44 website. And typically what I do is I plug the names in, and once we are all together in the debrief, I share my screen and I hit the button. And whatever the screen says, that's what it is. So I am going to pull up the D44 website. And please confirm that you all, oh, I'm sorry.
While you're doing that, Ebony, Perrin has a question in the chat.
I see your how many interviewing questions should a contest master ask? I don't know that there is a set amount. Again, I think it's depending on the contest, how many contestants you have, how many times has been allotted, how many judges there are, I think is a critical factor as well, and how long possibly the ballot counter may take. So I start off with a base of 3 questions and then go through each of the contestants. And if there's still time, have another question to do another round. Is everyone able to see the website? Okay. So this I came to, well, let me back up. I came to the D44 website and I came to Leader Library, and there's a link that says contest materials. And so you pull up this with everything right here. So you don't have to go searching for anything. A couple things that I want to highlight. This is the randomizer that I spoke to you guys about that you want to use. So you could just click the link. It is a live link, so it will take you directly to that website. And a couple things we have over here. I won't focus on this. We did this last night, but this is the chief judge briefing scripts, the contestants briefing scripts. And these are the overall contest scripts. And this is the sergeant at arms and tech master checklist. Couple things that we wanted to highlight. We were just speaking about the contestant briefing, and they're also broken down by contest. So once you pull it up, it gives you step-by-step broken down of the things that you need to review during the briefing. So this is very specific on it. So I would, if you can print this or have this and kind of review it in order to prepare yourself for your briefing. Just high level roll call, club, area division, whoever that is, instruct the contest on the virtual contest protocol. This is very, very important since we are not having our contest in physical space, that we're having it in virtual space. So you want to make sure that you review all of this. Designated speaking area, remaining within view of camera. So that's important. Contestants should position themselves so that they are visible from at least the waist up. So things like that are important. Recommendations that we want to suggest. Again, we talked about the timing and of course the general contest procedure. Okay. We also wanted to highlight the overall script. So this is one when you are leading the contest. Typically at the contest, the sergeant at arms will open, they would do the pledge, they would do the mission statement, and they would just welcome. And then the contest master comes back. You are allowed to kind of reiterate what those ground rules are that the sergeant at arms were. Having your phone on mute, turning off your camera if you're going to move, because that can be distracting. So you want to do that. And also very important to make sure that you are announcing the speaking order. So I've been in contests before where the speaking order isn't announced, and audience members will have to ask in the chat, what is the speaking order? So we want to avoid people having to ask for things that we should automatically provide for them. So making sure that you're having the speaking order. The next thing that's important in this is announcing the speakers. So in the two different, traditionally in our club meetings, we give entire introductions. This is Ebony Brown. She's been a Toastmaster in 2013. She's a distinguished Toastmaster. She likes to read. This is her life goals. We do not do that at the club level. The speech is literally, you introduce the person, Ebony Brown, why I love Toastmasters, why I love Toastmasters, Ebony Brown. Is that clean? Is that simple? And the same thing goes for the targeted speaker in the international contest. You say their name, the title of their speech, and their name. There is no introduction, no talking about what club they're a part of. None of that information is presented as part of that. So again, this goes into just additional details that you have when you were leading. They give you a verbatim script that you can read. So I would highly suggest you review this. If you need to tweak it, this again, what I just said, contestant's name, speech title, contestant's name, you're allowed to kind of make it your own, but these are the guidelines that have been provided to us by District 44 to be able to utilize.
Okay, Ebony, we have a couple of questions inside the chat. The first question, is this included in the contest rule book?
By this, are we saying the scripts? No, the scripts are not included in the contest rule book. They are not. So this is why I wanted to show you where to go to on the website, because that is a resource that our district has provided to us. It is not listed in the rule book.
And the second question is, during the contest, do the contest master restate the timing sequence?
I have not read it in the rule book, and it may be in there. I can search to verify, but I always do it twice, Dishalist. That's just what I've done. And so I'll have to check. I'm not sure if anyone else knows if it's a requirement, but I always do it twice just because we're saying a lot of names and people need time to write. So I always go back and do it twice as a best practice. Whether or not it's required, I apologize, I'm not 100% sure. Okay, next we're going to talk about the speaker certification, eligibility, and originality. And I also pulled this up on a PDF so you can see it just a little bit better. And this one, again, we're in a virtual environment. So this has been provided by Toastmasters International as a fillable form. So we start from the top, we have our club number, our member number, and our district number. So whatever your club number is, whatever your member number is, and District 44. This is a lot of fun. Eligibility. I got a kick out of who's not allowed to participate. So I always knew that the district leaders weren't. So you see here, district director, program quality, club growth, admin, etc. Of course, the division directors and area directors can, but international officers can. Immediate past district director. So we know our immediate past district director is Karen. So Karen can't participate this year. So this is just some fun reading. And then it goes also into if you're serving in these functionary roles or other capacities who cannot compete. Because you can't be a judge if you're competing, because how can you judge yourself? You would vote for yourself. And then we have this signed up, so you can sign this electronically. You can print your name. And then we go down to which contest. So we know that we have several contests. So we have humorous, tall tales, international evaluation, and table topics. Our district this year is doing humorous, international evaluation. So whatever contest you are competing in, you check that box, as well as whatever contest level, you check that box. So it's my hope for you all that are competing that you will be able to check every last one of these boxes one day. And we have the date of the contest, the title of your speech, again, your signature and your printed name. And what this is saying, so it's two different, let's back this up. So speaker's certification of eligibility is the first part. So once you read this and you sign here, you were saying, I am eligible to compete. And then once you check this and you sign again, you're saying that my speech is original and I have not violated that 25% rule of quotes or things of that nature or direct from somebody else. Hope, yes, I'm sure Tanisha can take care of that for us. Okay, so that was a lot of information. We are going to open the floor up for Q&A. And I can see everybody. So also, if you want to raise your hand, you are able to raise your hand. And Tanisha and Kari will help me monitor for hand raise and questions in the chat. And while you are thinking about your questions, next up, we will have the functionaries training. And we will go into more detail about what each of those roles entail.
Ebony, this is Yani. Hey, sorry, I joined late.
Okay.
Which website again that we be able to pick up those briefing information?
The scripts that's on the district website, so the D44toastmasters.org. And I can pull that back up quickly since we have a little time to just show you how I found that.
That'd be great, thank you.
So if you go to the website that I just gave you, and Tamisha just put in, someone put it in the chat, thank you. So you will go to this website, this is the main page. You're gonna go at the top, the headings that say Leader Library, and then we're gonna go down to contest material. And then it's broken down into whatever you need. The chief judge, contestants, the overall, sergeant at arms, and tech master. Tech master, we didn't go over in detail, but I would suggest you review that because tech master is something we only have in a virtual environment. So there are a lot of neat tips that are there. And then over to the side, we have all the contest kits. These can be found on the TI website as well. But if it's already here, you could just click here. And I would just, and it has everything, your forms, your certificates, your, just everything that you would need to put on a contest. And then these are just contest material, the checklist that we talked about, the contest rules. I am having the rule book updated to the 2021-2022 rule book. So if you're gonna download the rule book, download that from Toastmasters International. Again, the certification of eligibility that we just reviewed, and of course the randomizer that we want to use for speaking order. And I can click on that as well. So this is really simple. You just put the names and you click randomize. And this is the order. So Tanisha, as I'm contest master, I will speak. Tanisha is first, or first speaker, Tanisha Bulla. Second speaks Kari, third speaker Ebony. And so it's as simple as that. So there's no drawing straws, there's no any of that.
Ebony, we have a question in the chat from Dishalis. She's asked, if the contestant does not attend contestant briefing, is he or she allowed to compete?
So as contest chair or contest master, I would recommend that you try to have a separate time for them. So the only requirements, attending the briefing isn't a requirement. It just kind of gives them all of the information they need to have. If they submit that certification of eligibility and originality, then that is what allows them to compete in there. We have the briefing so that they know any additional rules, so that they you get a chance to meet them and practice for your interview or get that information. So the short answer is yes, but I would try my best to make sure that they have some type of debrief prior to the contest. Okay. So we have any more questions regarding the contest chair / contest master role?
And I'll just ask Ebony, so then when is the point, at what point is the contestant not allowed to compete?
If the contestant does not submit the required paperwork, and if the contestant is not at the contest, once the speaking order has been announced, they are not allowed to compete. Okay. All right, Kari, I will turn it back over to you.
All right, thank you, Ebony, for all of this helpful information, and Tanisha for acting as the tech master and facilitating the chat. While I have a captive audience here, I am going to do a plug for Makeup TLI. I don't know if you noticed on the website when Ebony first brought it up was information about the 4 different Makeup TLI trainings. So if you have not been able to attend any of the other TLIs that we had this past Saturday or the Saturday before, you have 4 more opportunities that you can attend. Thank you, Ebony, for bringing that up. You have the opportunity to attend one this coming Thursday evening, starting at 6:30. Is that correct, Tanisha, or you're bringing it up?
6 p.m.
It's 6
Oh, 6 p.m. 6 p.m. And it doesn't matter what division you belong to, you can attend any of these 4 makeup training sessions. So I highly encourage you to attend if you have not, to find out more information about your officer role and your leadership opportunities. And I'll check and see if anybody has any questions about that while you're here. And if you are not an officer or you've already attended, tell your club officers, tell your friends, tell your family, tell any club officer that you know that you pass by. And if they have not attended, please encourage them to attend. Okay, and we will close this out and we will start the next training at 7:30, and that's for functionaries. And I will say welcome and welcome again to all that have been here, and welcome to anyone that has joined us for this next part of the training where we talk about contest functionaries. I'm Kari Evans, the Program Quality Director for District 44, and I get to plan education and training, and I have the dynamic duo of Tanisha Bulla and Ebony Brown, the district contest co-chairs, and Ebony is going to lead us through the functionaries training. So let's welcome Ebony.
Thank you, Kari. I want to give a shout out to everybody that is with us doing Back to Basics Contest 101. We have had judges training. We have had chief judges training. We have had contest master and contest chair, and we are rounded this out with our functionaries training. And so my get to know you question is the following. Why is it important for functionaries to understand how to conduct their role? So I want to know why we can't just show up and you be a timer, or just you be a ballot counter, or you be sergeant at arms. Why is it important for us to conduct this training and for them to understand? So if you place their answers in chat for me, and I want to hear some of your thoughts. Okay, so Yanni says to run the contest smoothly. Parents says you can't do it without them. They are very valuable. Teresa, to have a well-run, effective, and fair contest. I like that word fair, Teresa. Ms. Griffith says to understand just how critical their role is. Absolutely. And lastly, Janice says, it's important that there is no question in the minds of the contestants or any distractions presented. I like that, Janice. We don't have to worry about, does the timer know when to start? Or does the ballot counter know how to count? So we are going to have this training to make sure that everyone understands what their roles are. So as I alluded to earlier, we have really dug in deep with the judges and chief judges and contest master and contest chair. So now we want to focus on our final remaining roles of the functionaries. As parents said, we can't have it without them. So it's not that they're last, it's just the order that we decided to do the training in. They are critically important. So first we will talk about the ballot counter. The ballot counter general description attends the breakout session with the chief judge to verify the ballots received via email and tallies the votes. The sergeant at arms assists the host and technology master with ensuring lines are muted, waiting rooms are manned, and there are no disruptions during the contest. So the sergeant at arms role is a little bit more in a virtual environment. There's a lot of moving parts and their eyes have to be all over the screen. And so we have had the tech master role, which I don't have listed on here separately, but I will go into some of the key requirements of that role. Again, while it's not a required role, I highly suggest, and all I can do is highly suggest or recommend that if you have the capacity, that you have a tech master, someone that is familiar with Zoom or Teams or whatever virtual platform that you're using to conduct your contest. So ballot counters. Now, Tanisha highlighted a lot of this during the judges training because the chief judge needed to know this information as well. The ballot counters have to understand that the official ballot form must be used. So what you can do is take a sheet of notebook paper and write down Judy, John, and James, and then send it in. Not gonna work. The judges must break any ballot ties. Now, this is a lot of fun. When I took my judges training, I was like, how do I do that? And I was talking this through with Tanisha last night, and that we want to, even though you're giving certain liberties to break your tie, you want to be careful that it's not any of those biases are included, or it's not just random, well, like her yellow shirt. So just kind of think through when you're judging and you have a tie, who you really want to be in that first place position. Your ballot must include first, second, and third place. And we talked about this earlier. If you only have 2 contestants, then you will have first and second, and it will make that ballot official. And the tie-breaking judge must rank all contestants. So once we get up into the area, division, and district levels, we start to have 4, 5, 6, 7 contestants. The tie-breaking judge is the only person required to rank all of them based on the number that we have.
Ebony, we have a question in the chat. It says, how will we move the ballots from judges to counters? And that's from Toastmaster Lee Ice.
Okay, Lee, we are actually about to get into that. So I will answer that on the slides coming up. Thank you for the question. Did I switch? Sorry. Okay, so the judge's official ballot. The judges, as I said before, the judge's official ballot must be used by all judges. These are screenshots of the official ballot forms from Toastmasters International, and these are for the international contest. And depending on which contest you're having, if it's international, evaluation, humorous, or any of the other ones, it will say across the top of the slip. The reason that this is important, and I'm not going to dig too deep into this because we did it during judges training, is because a lot of the judging criteria shift depending on what the contests are. So you must make sure that you have the right ballots. The form can be submitted in the following ways. Screenshot of only the bottom portion of the form, which you can see on the screen. The whole form, which you will see to the right, with only the bottom portion completed. And so the reason behind that is because the ballot counters do not need to see your judging criteria. They don't need to know who you gave a 9 or an 8 to. That's not their place. And so they only need, if you're going to send the whole screen, if you have a separate one, the whole sheet, then you're only going to send the bottom part completed. And based on us being in this virtual part, pictures of the ballot can be sent via text message or email. Now, once you enter into a breakout room and the judges have those, and I'm sorry, the chief judge has those ballots to count, the chief judge will then pull those ballots up and share their screen. If they were submitted to the chief judge during the text, then they will send them to themselves via email, just in the format where they can share it on the screen for both of the ballot counters to be able to see them. The chief judge will lead that count, reviewing what is shown. So our first place is on this particular ballot as we go through each ballot. So you should have 1 ballot for each judge. First place is Black Panther, second place is Superman, third place is Batman. Now, when we wanted to go over how to count the ballots, I don't know if people miss this or possibly ignore it, but you will see on the side of each place, it tells you how many points that the person gets. So if I have Black Panther on Judge A's ballot, he will receive 3 points for Judge A. If we had another ballot in Judge B and Black Panther was in second place, he will receive 2. So if there were only 2 judges, which we know there wouldn't be, but for this example, Black Panther received a total of 5 points. And this goes on and on based on the number of judges that you have. Now we get into the tiebreaker judge. As we stated before, the tiebreaker judge ranks all of the contestants 1 through 3, 1 through 8, how many ever, in their ballot. I apologize, I didn't plug the tiebreakers ballot, but their ballot has a space for, I believe, up to 8 judges. And then please correct me if I'm wrong on that. The tiebreaker ballot is only used if there is a tie. So we do not randomly open the tiebreaker ballot to show and count. We do not pull it up. I would have the chief judge set up a separate email for the tiebreaker to send that ballot to, or just note that it's a tiebreaker's ballot so that they only open it when it's necessary. We went over this last night as well. You don't add additional points for the tiebreaker's ballot. So if it is as it stands here, if there was a tie between Black Panther and Superman, and on the tiebreaker's ballot, Black Panther was first on their ballot and Superman second, then Black Panther would stay in first and Superman would stay in the second place. Okay, now we're going to get into the timer. So we had a lot of questions last night on timing, and a couple things that the rule book states, and this is kind of different based on us being in a virtual environment. In a traditional space, you have one timer that is conducting the lights and another timer that is conducting the actual timing. In our virtual space, we have 2 timers still, and it is at the discretion of the chief judge and the contest chair. At a district level, we have both timers showing their lights, and that's only for technological reasons in case one timer's light doesn't work or goes out for whatever reason. So they both do show their lights. But at your club, area, and division level, it is up to your contest chair and your chief judge how you would like to conduct that. The rule book says a stopwatch. So we are in 2021. I have a stopwatch function on my phone. So if I service timer, that is what I use. Couple things that are important with timing. When you are, again, we said the timer goes into both debriefs, right? So you go to the, you go to the contest debrief, the contestants debrief, and you go to the judges debrief as well. So when you're in the contestants debriefing, it is to help them with the pinning. And the documents that you see we have on the screen, one, you see Nicolette's name right here and how to change, because you want to rename yourself timer 1 or timer 2 so they know who you are. Nobody else does that. Please don't go and rename yourself Judge 1 or tiebreaker judge or any of those other roles. That is not important. However, the timers need to rename themselves timer 1 and timer 2. A big thing that we've had to learn is how to pin the timer. And so we show you have the more, you drop down the little box right here and it shows pin video. What that does is, regardless of gallery view, speaker view, regardless of whatever view that your computer is in, you will be able to see the timer. Depending on the number of people in your club, the number of people at the district level, there are a lot of people attending this event. And so you don't want to have to search for the timer because that will throw you off. I want to, for a brief moment, to stop sharing my screen. And I am at the district, at this level, we would, I'm sorry, I'm gonna reword that. When you're conducting a contest in a virtual environment, we will want the timer to use virtual backgrounds. We don't want you holding up your camera to show, as you can see, that gets very blurry. So Toastmasters and even on the district website, you have the backgrounds. So for traditional international speech, You see green at 5 minutes. This is what the timer is changing. You see yellow at 6 minutes. And then you see red at 7 minutes. It stays red until the person stops talking. Once they stop talking, you record their time. What you don't do after 7 minutes and 30 seconds is this fun stuff to let them know. You don't turn it on and turn it off and go back and forth like that. We're not doing any of that. You leave it red until the person finishes talking, and then you record your speech. I mean, you record their time.
I think there's a question in the chat asking, does the ballot counter rename themselves?
They can, for the help of the tech master when they are moving them, the ballot counter can, because that's not a hidden role. The only person that needs to be anonymous are the judges and the tie-breaking judge. So they can. It's not necessarily necessary, but again, once we're trying to figure out how to move people into these breakout rooms. So actually, I'm just going to say yes. It's probably way easier if the ballot counter changes because they have to go into a breakout room. Also, we wanted to show the official form, the timing form. So District 44 has elected to use the official speech contest timing form. I know before we've used the chat to send the timing thing, which becomes a little dangerous in case a person doesn't share directly to the chief judge, in case they mistakenly send it out to whomever else and everyone gets to see it, or if they just don't know how to use that function. And so the official timing sheet is used the same way that we use the ballots. You will complete it, you complete their name, contestant Batman, time 5 minutes, 33 seconds. These are fillable from the Toastmasters International website, so you can do it that way as well. And then if you print them out, you want to fill it out, take a picture and text it to the chief judge, that is allowed as well. Now I want to highlight some things about the tech master. Again, depending on the size of your club, once we start getting into the area, division, and district level, we really want to have tech masters just because all of our contests are virtual. And so there's a couple things that the tech master must do. So, and then you identify with the sergeant at arms who is going to be responsible for which role, but these are the ones that we've identified that the tech master needs to do. The first thing, whomever Zoom account that is, or whatever account that you're using, whether Zoom or Teams or any of the other virtual platforms, the tech master needs to be host or co-host during the contest. They need to have full access to all of the features that are being allowed to use. The other thing is they want to ensure that breakout rooms are ready for the chief judge and ballot counters. So the main, in an international contest, the only people going to breakout rooms are the chief judge and the ballot counters. You may also have to use a breakout room in the event of a protest, and we discussed this last night. The contestant has a chance to defend themselves if the protest is lodged. And in that case, the tech master would open a breakout room for the chief judge, all of the voting judges, and the contestant. Also, throughout the contest, the tech master ensure the guests in the waiting room do not enter the main room until there is a break between speakers. So I want to spend a little time here because I feel like this is important. I think when we're in a virtual environment, we just let people in. This is virtual, you know, it's cool. It's not like when we're physical and they're opening the door and the door is making noise. But if a speaker is speaking and the screen shifts because we've added a 40th person or a 20th person, that can be distracting. If someone comes in and they're not on mute, which we see, I promise, and I'm sure all of you have, more often than not, you come in and you're talking and you don't realize that you're not on mute. And that is absolutely distracting to the contestant and distracting to the audience as well. And of course the judges, because they may have missed something very critical that was being delivered to the speech at that time. So for that case, you want to have the waiting room feature enabled. during the 1 minute of silence, during the time when all of the ballots are being collected, during any transition period where there was no one actively speaking, the tech master can let them into the room. So I don't know how much we've thought about this in the past, but I think this is very critical because I've seen it where we let people in and people get distracted. I've been distracted myself by people being allowed into the room while I'm giving the presentation. And so we want to give the contestant as much space to deliver this speech that they've worked so hard on without any distractions as possible. And we want to treat the virtual environment as much as we would to an in-person environment, keeping in mind a lot of those similar rules. If a functionary or a contestant actually loses connection, the tech master needs to be prepared to let them back in immediately. We talked about that there's a 5-minute waiting period if a contestant loses before that they can come back in and restart their speech from the point where they left their speech off. And so the tech master then needs to be watching that waiting room because you're expecting this person to come back in. If a judge or any of the other functionaries lose a timer, we talked about how critical all of these roles are. They need to be let back in immediately. And so the tech master wants to keep an eye on that space for them as well. And have the slides ready throughout the contest to display at the proper times discussed with the contest master and contest chair previously. So I think there's a lot of key things in this. Have the slides ready. So before we started, I will be transparent. I was like, let me make sure I have everything where I want to have it because I don't want to keep switching and moving. I want to be able to pull it up and pull it down. And so I needed to do that. As well, the proper times. If I pulled up a slide about the judges and we're talking about timers, you got people of visual learners, that's going to throw them off. Or if a slide comes up during the speech and the contestant is not expecting that, again, that will throw them off. Or think about the announcement of winners and you pull up the first place slide versus the third place slide. That just kills all of the expectations of that's not the right word, of who is gonna win. And so we have to be careful that we're doing that. Also key in this, discuss with the contest master and contest chair previously. So doing these debriefs, doing our planning, doing all of those calls or meetings, we want to make sure we go through what that slide deck looks like and that the tech master is aware of when it's being said, when it's been displayed when. And then lastly, my favorite part, Tanisha coined the term Zoom mute sniper. I think it was Zoom sniper. Put it in the chat, Tanisha, I forgot what it was. But to be ready to mute or turn off video from anyone who should not be heard or seen at that time. So I served in that capacity last night. And when I tell you I was muting, I was muting people. So you want to mute sniper, there we go. You want to make sure that you need to mute these people.
Ebony, there was a question in the chat asking about, does the tech master disable the chat during speeches?
I'm not 100% sure. Our best practices, I would say yes for for one main reason, and I announced it as contest master. We do not want you to praise or give accolades during their speech or directly after, because that may sway the judges voting. And so if we were in a live contest, once the speech is over, you would clap and you would be quiet. You wouldn't go up and you wouldn't say, oh, that was great, or you did that, or that was amazing. And so kind of think of it in that space. So as a best practice, and Kari, if there's something different you want to say here, that's fine.
We have not, on the district level, we have not disabled the chat, but because I think we have allowed, after the contest is over, everyone wants to provide comments or say how the contest was. If you choose to do that for your own club contest, you can. I've not seen anything that says that you cannot.
And I think you can turn it back on as well, but I think just because I know I've had to tell people not to post those comments, but it's like you can't unring a bell. So once they're there, the judges have seen it. And not saying that it always sways it, but it could sway it. So if you're able to turn it off, and then once after, or maybe during that time, the text master, when the ballots are being counted, once the interviews are starting, the text master can turn it back on and open that space to have them give those accolades for different comments. Additional is asking, during contest, are attendees video muted? Only timer is seen. So no. So the time, which is why we want you all, the contestants, to be able to pin the timer. We don't want the videos muted for a couple of reasons. One, specifically because audience reaction helps out the contestant, especially during a humorous contest. I have never competed, but it would be really hard if I am throwing jokes and I can't see how people are reacting. I mean, I can imagine that they're funny to me, so hopefully they're funny to them. But we are not requiring videos to be turned off. If a person, like an audience member, is doing something, then absolutely we want them to turn their video off so that they're not moving around in the background. Like earlier, my daughter left and walked out the door, and I was like, oh, I hope no one saw that. But no, so that is not a requirement that we're having, for the simple fact that the audience engagement is very helpful depending on the contest that there is. Okay. I had, make sure I answer all the questions that I had. Okay, I will do those. Okay, so now we will do some little audience interaction. What is one thing you learned from this session? And a lot of you stayed for both sessions, so you can put it for both, that you will implement in your club or area contest. And we can talk and highlight a couple of those. And if you want to just say it, feel free to raise your hand, and either Tanisha or Kari can recognize you. Okay, Teresa and Deborah saying the same thing, how important the text master is, and hopefully implementing that role. Contestant information session prior to the contest. Yes, so those contestant debriefings are very critical to you running a very smooth contest. Thank you, Arnell. Can we drag everyone to get them to, can we drug everyone to get them to read the rule book? So as district contest chair, I cannot, and I cannot say this on camera, but what you do, no, I'm just joking. We do encourage you to have everyone to read the rule book. As you understand, I have been plugging this a lot. So please read, because I learned so much new stuff. I thought I knew contests. I was like, I did at the division level, I did at the area level, I was at the district level. I know contests. And Tanisha and I were like, wait, did you know? So there was a lot with there. The screen timer with the color, absolutely. I don't want to say your first name wrong, I talked about doing that. But again, we're trying to hold the camera up. A lot of us are using virtual backgrounds, and you can't really see anything. Like you can't see my fingers, or that gets blurry. So we want to make sure that you're using those virtual timers and they just show big and bold, so the contestant is not confused as to what color they're doing. What to do if loss of connectivity? Absolutely. So that 5-minute rule is in place. We understand. So right now it's stormy, and I'm prayerful that we get through the rest of the training so that before I lose any connections. Jim says, have the briefings far apart from each other time-wise in order to minimize chance of contestants seeing judges. Absolutely. I wanted to make sure that that was heard. You know, some people are smart, they figure out who they are, but we as contest chairs and contest masters and chief judges, we want to do our best to uphold the rules that are in this book. Let's see if I missed anything. Double check each role. Don't assume they will remember the event. Give them the reminders and reminders. Absolutely. Send me a text 5 minutes before, we got a debrief in 30 seconds. Yes, I'm on my way. So I don't think you can overly remind.
And there was another question or comment about a change from last year. Contestant disqualified if not in the meeting by the announcement of speaking order rather than the introduction of the contest master.
Let me check on that, Amy. I am not. Let me verify that. I don't want to give you wrong information. I'm not 100% sure. I've always known once the speaking order was announced that they that you can no longer compete at that point. But I will double check.
Yeah, and I wonder if it's because it's when the contest starts. So
yeah.
I think it's how it's worded.
Actually, I did double check that, and it does state that the contestant has to arrive before the contest master is announced.
Okay, well, there we go.
And that's your club growth director, Rod Alexander.
Making a special appearance. Thank you, Rod, for the clutch answer. This is off topic, but there is a suggested way to approach judges. I imagine all the trained judges posted online get bombarded with requests for club and area contests. So we had our assessment last night. So as contest chair, I will be updating our judge list. I think honestly, they probably do, but I didn't. And so I would say just read, it's like to me, shoot your shot, right? And they can say yes or no. And so I would just send the email. You want to have the key information, the date of the contest that you want them to serve as judge, any your contact information, any important information that you want them to have. Because while I may not be able to serve as a judge on Tuesday, I might be off on Wednesday. So just put whatever critical information that is in there. And then I say cast the net wide. So however long that list is, I'm getting ready to update it and make sure we have ones that are wanting to be judges. And we had a lot of people last night. I want to make sure I pass my test. I want to be a judge. So there are people out there, and I put a plug in to say, you're going to get requests. Try to be open, try to be willing to help people at these club area division levels, because you don't know when you will need them. And so just try to help as much as possible. So I hope that helps.
Ebony, I would add too, if you're sending out an email to a lot of people, please put them in the BCC instead of having everybody in the two, just because some people like to reply all, and there may end up being 2,000 emails in each person's inbox.
Yes, and ask them to reply just to you and not to everyone. So that just in case there are contestants on the email or potential contestants, so that they will not be aware who the judges are. I did want to make one point, and this point has been made many times about reading the rule book. And just as it came up, and not that that's necessarily the case, but when it was mentioned, oh, that's a change from last year, that's different from last year. Toastmasters International updates the rule book every single year, and things do change. They make adjustments based on what's going on, or if they've sometimes clarified rules that may sound a little vague. They change it based on things that have happened the year previously. So please make sure to read the rule book each year, even if you have been a judge, a contest master, contest chair, contest functionary. Many times they do make changes. So you want to make sure that you are up to date on all the changes that have been made.
Oh, go ahead, Tanisha.
I was just going to say, and those changes are denoted in the rule book by a diamond. So it actually shows you where the updates have been made from the previous year on the rule book.
Right. I think that's important to know. So you're not like, is this different from last year? They let you know what's different. Cara, these are some questions I'll need you to kind of help with. Bettina says it is good to review everything in training like this. How often are these training? Our club has already had one contest.
We'll be having another judges training at the end of August. We had not talked about having another contest chair master functionary, but we probably will have one before the next round of contests that start in January for the international speech contest. So we're working on that, working with the calendar to get those trainings in place and scheduled.
Absolutely. Deborah, I have a slide that's coming up at the end that have the dates of the contest, but I believe is you have until the end of August, or at least what's listed on my slide is August 31st for your club level contest. Dishless is asking, are judges updated on D44 website the same as judges determined in contest rule book? Are they, I'm not sure I understand what you're asking. Are you saying, are they?
If a member of Toastmaster or D44 attends judges training and they pass the test or don't pass it, or at least pass the test, is that the same as determined as a judge in the judge's rule book? Previous years, you pass the test, you're a judge. That's great, but the Toastmaster rule book say you have to do A, B, and C to be a chief judge, or A, B, and C to be a judge. Is that different, or is that the same?
Yeah, I'm still not sure what you mean. I mean, if you pass the test, you are a judge, you're on the trained judges list. The other criteria that's in the rule book is related to being a paid member, and for certain level of contests, having a certain number of speeches. So the contest chair would kind of check that out, those specific criteria at the time of the contest, but on the list, we are checking for, while I actually will go back and make sure all those people are paid members currently, but it's also that they have been trained as a judge or passed the training.
All right, so I give it say it in a different way.
Okay.
So for instance, I'm a DTM, but I don't pass your judge's training. I am eligible to be a chief judge or judge based on Toastmasters rule book, correct?
You can't, yes, you won't be on the trained judges list, but yeah, but if someone were to contact you and ask you to be a judge or a chief judge, they can do that.
Okay, that was it. Thank you.
Okay, all right.
And that also prompted something Tanisha and I talked about in our debrief yesterday. We have these trainings each year. So the incoming PQD has judges training. And if you are a judge, I would ask, and Kari, correct me if answer if there are time limits on it, because I would want you to be certified every year just because there's additional information that's training. So if the trainings are available, I would recommend that you take them just so you're up to date on the most information. Now, what I don't know if that's how long your training to be on this list lasts.
I believe it's 3 years, or that's what we have done. That once it's past 3 years, then we ask that you take the test again and be trained again.
So you will be, for the people that were certified last night, will be on there since 2023. And then each year, if you're able, I would recommend taking the training because a lot of the new information is presented and just to kind of keep you up to date and meet new judges and things of that nature. I think Teresa asked if there'll be another training. Yes, I think Kari announced that August 31st. We put it on the calendar, but yes, there will be.
August 31st.
We have so many dates in our head. We're just trying to make it through the night. But no, so yeah, we will have another training on judges training on August 31st. And yes, both the recording and the deck will be posted to the D44 website for all 4 trainings. Okay. Do we have any more questions? So what's next? What do I do now? I sat through this training. Ebony and Kari and Tanisha are fabulous. What do I do now? Plan your club contest. So I heard somebody say we've already had our club contest. Good job. So for those of you that have not, these are your upcoming dates. As I stated, you have until August 31st. And for future references, once the new Toastmaster year starts, apparently you can start your club contest. This said July 1st to August 31st, but I will go through a training. So you now have until August 31st at the club level. For all of my ADs that are in the house, we have a special training for you tomorrow. And then your contests are September 13th through October 23rd. And if we have any division directors in the house, shout out Tanisha, your contests are October 25th through December 15th. That is for our humorous and evaluation contests. As Kari stated earlier, we will have repeats of some of these contests once we get into the second part of the year, which is 2022, which will be housing our international contest. Clubs at that point, you can start January 2nd through February 5th, areas February 7th through March 7th, and division March 7th through April 9th. And then everyone gets to show up at the district-wide conference for the district level contest. And for additional information, if you want to talk to me or Tanisha, please email contestchair@d44toastmasters.org. If you have questions that weren't answered tonight, or you think about them after you log off and really want to answer, you are welcome to email us there and we will respond as soon as we are able to. Okay. So I like to thank everyone for attending the trainings. If you attended all 4 trainings, you are amazing. And I am super excited to see the contest that we're going to have this year. Again, if you need to reach us, you have that contact information. I will turn it back over to Madam PQD, Kari Evans, to close us out.
Thank you, Madam Contest Chair Ebony Brown and Contest Co-Chair Tanisha Bulla. What an excellent training. Thank you very much for providing all of this information. And thank you all for attending. As Ebony said, if you have questions, please feel free to email contestchair@d44toastmasters.org. If you have questions for me, you can email me at pqd@d44toastmasters.org. And we will conclude this training. And oh my God, we're giving back a whole 20 minutes. Wow.
I'm sorry.
Y'all are awesome. Wow. I hope you all have a good night.
Thank you guys. Very good.
Thank you.
Congrats.
Thank you.